Hello and welcome to CT Office Notes 2.2 tutorial video entitled Plan Section. For those of you who are following in order, the last video that we had done or looked at was the assessment video. And on that screen we had noted our progress since last visit, additional comments on assessment, as well as any other assessment information that we have chosen to place in, as well as additional MD diagnosis assessment information. If this was more than the client's first visit, we would then choose whether a no change, positive, or negative had occurred since last time versus being their client's first visit. Once we are happy with all of the information in here, we will move on now to Plan by pressing the Plan tab. And here we see our machine settings for those of you who use a colon hydrotherapy machine, where you're familiar with these settings such as temperature, pressure, and of course you would want to record things like treatment time. If you would like to record fills and empties, whether you use oxygen, observations during the procedure such as spasm, movement, or color can all be included here. So let's go ahead and say we had our temperature settings. For our drop downs here, we're going to change this to 85 to 95 degrees. Our pressure, PSI, on our settings were, let's say, a quarter, as we have, to a half is our usual settings. We might have had to have gone to 3/4. We can include that there. The treatment time, roughly between maybe 15 minutes, 15 to 30, 30 minutes, 30 to 45, 45 minutes, 45 to 60, 60 minutes, and so on. If you find there was some specific time that you do need to note, you can choose something that's close to it, and then you can make the alteration at the end when we create the note. We'll show you how to do that in our next video. If you want to document fills and empties, you can. If you don't want to talk about that, for example, you just leave it at fills and empties and it will know to ignore that particular finding. But let's say we choose that we did 10 fills and empties. Oxygen, for those of you who are allowed to use it, you can choose your settings. Otherwise, you just put in none and it will ignore the oxygen. Your observations of spasm might be, let's say, 1. Observed movement through here could be normal, maybe sluggish, or quick, whichever you choose. We're going to go with sluggish. And then the color that was observed, pale, brown, tan, black, green, etc. We're going to go ahead and pick brown. Over here in this section of our plan that talks about what we had done, we may have used a UV filter. For those of you who are allowed to, or maybe under MD prescription, probiotics may have been administered. You may have discussed supplementation, if again your state laws allow you to do that. If you recommended lab testing for that person to go speak to a medical doctor about a lab test, you can check that here. If you receive test findings, you can review them with someone. And whether you perform this treatment as per an MD prescription, many of you know that you get referrals from medical doctors. You can go ahead and click there. Perform treatment as per medical recommendation versus prescription is a choice. The client tolerated treatment well, you might want to pick that. You have other choices again here listed, recommending a follow-up session, recommending a medical referral. Those are all there, and these will all, when checked, create random text generation sentences for you in your final note. And again, for follow-up on recommendations of return, what you'll want to do here is choose, let's say you want to see this person 1 time weekly. You can choose here, and that will also be included in your note, very important. If you want to add additional information in this section, simply go up to your padlock, click it to unlock the field. Go ahead here and type in, client is to return every 4 months, every 2 months, whatever it is you want to put in. And then you go back up to your padlock, lock it, and then you can choose that particular finding as a sentence that would be included without random text generation. That sentence will be included as you note it there. Now, additional treatment comments, and again, when you hover over that, you'll notice that it gives you a little box to remind you what can go in there. But you could choose any information you'd like, add it in your plan section, and then if you choose for it to be just a comment that you see, you just leave this box unchecked. But if you wish for that comment to include itself in the note, simply check the box there. Again, whatever comments go in this box are specific to that particular client and will not appear for any other client. Now, what you can do again is, if nothing changes from visit to visit, with respect to certain things like machine settings, you don't need to re-enter them. The only thing that may change is spasms, movement, and color, for example, but your treatment times or fills and empties might only change briefly. Then you can just leave this as is. These settings will be saved specifically to Joe Smith, this client who is 1007, and another client may show up with different machine settings each time, as the CT Office Notes will save all of the settings, not just for everyone, but actually individual clients will have individual settings saved. So if you have any other questions, again, as usual, give us a call. And this concludes the plan section of our tutorial video. And the next section will be create note/save note, which shows you how all of this information comes together. Thank you so much.